This has Pelicans fans stressed, as tons of analysts are now coming out bashing the Pels for picking up Jordan Poole and Kevon Looney, two former Golden State Warrior players with championship experience. We're going to talk about what they had to say about it and share our thoughts about it inside this edition of Pelicans Digest. What's good with it, y'all? Listen, people, Melz on the MIC. Melz talking about the Pels back once again inside Pelicans Digest. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for subscribing. And if you haven't done it yet, you're part of the 70% that haven't done it yet. What are you waiting for, baby? Go get busy. Go hit that subscribe button and come get the best reports, news, analysis, opinions, rumors, all that good stuff. You can get it right here with Pelicans Digest. And, of course, you know, the Pelicans have been relentlessly getting bashed this all season for some of the moves that they made to sort of reconstruct this roster. And, you know, and it continues. You know, of course, we all know what it is. You know, you traded the first round with Derek Queen. You went and brought in Jordan Poole and Kevon Looney, which a lot of people are now starting to talk about, especially in NBA analyst circles, that they questioning this move for the New Orleans Pelicans, bringing in Looney and Poole. Of course, Poole is coming off a season-high season with the Golden State, with the Washington Wizards on a bad Wizards team that nobody watched, so nobody knew what was going on with that team. All they saw was he had better numbers this season. And Kevon Looney, of course, you know, his history with Golden State has been sort of weird and kind of crazy. And he's looking for an opportunity to prove himself as well. And you're bringing in these guys on a roster that, again, has already won 49 games. The majority of this roster that you have won 49 games from your season ago. And you still believe that this team with Zion Williamson can still compete and make some noise in the Western Conference. So there's also this notion that seems to be that Joe Dumars and the Pelicans can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Like, you can't try to field a roster that can try to compete now in the Western Conference while also stockpiling your cupboard with the draft picks that you had and the moves that you made. So I find it interesting that over the last, I guess, 24 hours or last couple of days, really, that all of a sudden there's this sort of backlash about the Jordan Poole signing and Kevon Looney. And we're going to get into that inside this episode. And I want to start, first off, with the talk about Kevon Looney. Looney, of course, came over. First day of free agency is something that we called on this show. I was in agreement with this move. I still believe this was the smart move with the Pelicans to make to go sign him, because at the end of the day, you're getting him at sort of a, you know, at a premium for what centers are going at right now. You're getting him on what I think is a decent deal, in my opinion. And also, he's one of the top offensive rebounders in basketball. Go look it up. The stats are there. On the team, and you add them to a team that's sorely needed offensive rebounding and rebounding in general. Okay? So I find it interesting that on the Warriors fan page, Blue Man Hoop, my man Peter O'Keefe wrote that that Looney is already under pressure after coming over to the Pelicans. And he says that there's a ton of pressure on Looney to perform coming over here because of mostly the money that he got. You know, Looney's only on an $8 million a year deal for 2 seasons. So he's getting $16 million. And a lot of people are blasting the move, especially for Looney for some reason. They're not blasting him for going to get the money. They're just questioning why the Pelicans would do it. And we'll get into that, but let me show you what he had to say about that. He says that the issue with Looney is that he's going to have to be far more than just a strong locker room presence, with many analysts still left stunned that he was able to garner a 2-year, $16 million deal from New Orleans in the opening hours of free agency. Will Guillory of The Athletic, who's also a Pelicans beat writer, also wrote and spoke on this and said that multiple years for Kevon Looney, who was struggling to break the rotation in Golden State, probably not something that a lot of people saw coming in this summer. And I'm like, why are we questioning this? I mean, outside of Miles Turner, Clint Capella, who didn't want to come to New Orleans, okay, that was Brook Lopez. There wasn't really a whole lot of deals going on as far as in the center market that you could pick up on if you're the New Orleans Pelicans, especially in free agency. Should we may have traded with somebody? I don't know, but there wasn't a whole lot to choose from. I went and looked up some of the top free agent numbers this past all season, and Miles Turner was the only center who got paid the most. Brook Lopez got paid a whole bunch of money. And Looney was like maybe 5th on the list as far as an average salary, as far as free agent centers this all season. So I don't know. But again, you brought in Looney to bring in something that you sorely needed on this team, which is rebounding. And that's something that people are not looking at. They're only looking at it from how much money did it cost. So, I still applaud the Looney move, and I still think it can work out. But I also found something interesting that he wrote in the article as well that I also found kind of funny as well that he wrote this in the article. He said that Peter O'Keefe says that how much Looney is able to showcase that experience and leadership while actually on the court is going to be fascinating, particularly when the Pelicans have a pair of young centers in Eve Missy and Derek Queen. Can I say this? Mr. O'Keefe? You just answered your own question. That's why there won't be that much pressure on Kevon Looney this season. Because you got Eve Missy and you got Derek Queen. Now, I will continue to argue that you shouldn't play Derek Queen at the 5 at all this season. I will continue to argue that. You do not play Derek Queen at the 5. He needs to be at least Zion's backup at the 4. Other than that, I don't want him on the 5. I've seen him play at the 5. He's not ready to be an NBA 5 yet. Not yet anyway. So, no. So that's why I say there's no real pressure on him because you got Eve Missy. So I don't see where the pressure is coming from for Looney to perform. And plus, he's only here for 2 seasons. You're not heavily invested in him. If you're the Pelicans, you're not heavily invested in him. It was either that or spend, $10+ million on Brook Lopez or somebody else, or Clint Capella. Again, Clint Capella didn't want to be here. Clint Capella took less money to go to Houston. And remind me to do a video on the Houston preview as well. I got to remember to do that. Anyway, now that we answered that question that I believe was pressing, it brings us to Jordan Poole, who just showed up in New Orleans this week. He's getting ready for training camp. He's reported in early, which is good to see. He's ready to get to work. And, of course, like I said before at the start of the video, Jordan Poole is coming off a career-high numbers in Washington on a bad Washington team that nobody watched, so nobody's aware of how his game has evolved and gotten better a little bit. Yes, he still has a ton of turnovers that he has to cut down on. Yes, he's going to have to be a point guard that's going to have to lead and facilitate for the time being until Dejounte Murray comes back. But came across another article from Wiz of Oz, from John Kennedy. And this one was funny to me because he says that the Wizards absolutely fleeced the Pelicans in the Jordan Poole trade. Okay. Now, before I get, and I had to catch myself because I was like, what? And then I was like, wait a minute. We're talking about the Wizards here. Okay. We're talking about the Wizards here. Okay. And let me tell you what he had to say in the article about this. Because he's also arguing about the value of Jordan Poole's contract instead of arguing about what he can actually add to the team as far as his game is concerned. In this article, he says, in addition to Poole's robust contract number, the unlikely incentives linked to his contract will almost certainly prove to make things even tougher for the Pelicans to trade him in a separate deal if his fit in New Orleans isn't what either side hoped it could be. Okay. But you only got him for 2 seasons. You only had that contract for 2 seasons. And you also, again, I said this in a video before, you traded an aging CJ McCollum who you were paying just about the same amount of money to, who's going on an expiring contract, whose production is starting to go down, for a kid who's going up, whose production is going up, and paying about the same amount of money. I would argue that you will see Dejounte Murray get moved before Jordan Poole at this point. But again, 2 seasons. You only got him for this year and next year. So if you're the Pelicans and if you want to trade him, if you're bringing him in with trade bait, which I don't think they have, that's what Washington did. Again, that's why I didn't trip out this article, because if you're Washington, you're rebuilding. You have made it clear that you are in the middle of a rebuild. You are doing this for 4 or 5 years down the line. So, of course, when you get C.J. McCollum, you wanted an agent veteran, you got him. You brought in Kelly Olynyk, you traded him to got the first-round draft pick back. Of course you're going to see this as a fleece. You got off a contract that you didn't want to get draft picks and capital back because you are rebuilding. The Pelicans are not in the middle of a rebuild, not right at this moment. What we're doing is trying to win something now and see what we can win with now, while also stocking the cupboard for the day that all these contracts come off. You're walking and chewing gum at the same time. You're not just focused on 3-4 years down the line. You could do two things at the same time. I hope you're capable of doing that. It's similar to what, not too long ago what Oklahoma City did. So again, I don't see any problem with this. And also, let me also say this as well, because he also wrote this in his article. If you compare the stats between McCollum and Poole averaged more assists, had a better true shooting percentage, and averaged slightly fewer points despite fewer minutes and shot attempts. But damn, you just answered your own question too. That's why the Pelicans made the move. When that trade happened, I came on here and said I think it was an even trade. It wasn't a franchise-altering trade for both teams. I said it was a trade. The shocking truth behind that trade was it was an even move for both sides and benefited both teams. Y'all running around here screaming y'all released us. No, it was a mutual trade for both teams. We're getting a younger, fresher version of CJ McCollum. You get the older version, the veteran that you wanted. and then you get your draft picks, and then y'all get ready to go stock up your capital and try to build something over there 2-3 years down the line. Pelicans are at least trying to field a team that's going to try to compete now in the Western Conference. This is, again, a core that has mostly won 49 games a season ago before an injury-ravaged season this last season. So now you're bringing in a whole younger core, a younger set of players, fresher legs, fresher everything to try to compete this season and next season while you still have Zion Williamson. So again, if anybody's gonna get traded, if I see anybody getting moved on this team before Jordan Poole is Dejounte Murray or Zion Williamson. But again, I don't see that either happening. I think I say it repeatedly. I think Zion's gonna have a great season, and I think we can make some noise. But we'll see. As training camp gets started next week, we will keep you updated on everything that's going on with the Pelicans. So in the meantime, go hit that subscribe button, baby. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, share this video, and tell me your thoughts on this. Do you think it was a bad move to pick up Jordan Poole and Kevon Looney? What are your thoughts on that? Do you hate the money we paying them? What is the reasons why you don't like this move? Or tell us the reasons why you love this move. Tell me and holler back at me in the comments. It's Melz talking about them Pels right here on Pelicans Digest. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and come get in the conversation.